Hey there, this is Fufski coming to you from New York. I'm currently at Flushing, Queens. This is the Chinatown, and today is Chinese New Year. So first, happy Chinese New Year, everyone. I'm currently here with a couple of my friends here to celebrate the Chinese New Year, and of course, we're gonna have Chinese food. We're at this place called Szechuan House, which is an authentic Sichuanese place that is approved by me. It has some pretty good dishes, and we have a lot of people here. We're gonna have a lot of food. We're gonna celebrate it. We're gonna have a good time. So yeah. So joining me here, I have a couple of friends. This is Aris. You might have recognized him before from like a very old video that there's a horse on his face. But anyway, he has lose some weight now. This is James. You also know him. This is Sean. You probably seen the cooking video. And lastly, this is the culinary king, Joe DiStefano. Okay, so first, appetizer. We have some appetizers already. This is oxtail and tripe called 夫妻肺片. It's a very classic Sichuanese cuisine. It's a real thing here. You have that aromatic chili oil, and you have some stock from the master brine and celery, and that's what makes up the signature flavor. This is 口水鸡 Salivating Chicken. Legend says it because it's so delicious that makes people salivate. That's where the name comes from. Same thing, aromatic chili oil, chicken, but this one without the celery. The chili oil is really the soul here. You gotta have a good chili oil to have a good salivating chicken. All right, so the dishes come really quickly. We already have a full table of amazing dishes. I'm still in the stage of appetizer, so let me carry on. This is dumpling, 水饺, with a little bit chili oil. You eat dumpling for Chinese New Year, but actually like China is very large and diverse, so different parts has different tradition. For dumpling eating, it's more of like northern China, but I'm not from northern China, like I'm from the south. So actually, in my tradition, we don't eat dumpling, we eat something called like tangyuan. But here, I'm gonna have some dumplings. Not particularly spicy, just a little bit. It's real meaty though, a lot of meat in here. Allow me to rotate this thing. One thing about this type of table is that once you have a lot of food in the Chinese table setup, you can use it to rotate. So this thing here we have is kidney, like a cold mix. Well, that is good. This is definitely one of the better kidneys. In fact, I'm not a huge fan of kidneys because of the livery flavor, but this one, they process it pretty well, so you don't have any of the livery flavor, any of the gaminess of it. Kind of like a crunchier version of a meat. What do you think of this one? The first time
I
you had
really
it?
like the texture.
Like the texture?
Really soft and the flavor, really pleasant.
At first, like I mentioned, I wasn't a particular fan of this type of offal, but the way they process it is pretty good.
Yeah, really nice.
What do you think of some of the other dishes?
Yeah, good variety here. I mean, good ears. Nice to have something that's not meat or fish too, so that's a good plus. Yeah, all of them are really good. Nicely spiced and seasoned.
This is the complete package for Sichuanese food.
Oh yeah.
Okay, so moving on, this is the dish that I like most. This is Mapo Nao Hua. You probably had Mapo tofu before, right? That's like, you know, the tofu that's in the style of Mapo tofu, which is like spicy, non-meat. And in this case, this is not tofu, this is pig brain. Brain isn't everyone's type, and it wasn't my type in the past, but as I grow up, my taste bud matures more and I start to appreciate different flavor, and the brain being one of them. This is actually a huge brain here. Well, the texture is so soft and creamy. And you have the signature flavor from the Mapo tofu. This one is not particularly numbing, like there isn't a whole lot of Sichuan peppercorn here. They definitely have some, but not too much. But you've got that still the aromatic chili oil with this creamy texture. If you eat brains, this is something you gotta try. All right, James, try some brain.
All right. Here we go.
I believe it's your first time, huh?
Yep. It's this time. Yeah, I like it.
What do you think?
Really smooth texture. It's like a pillow, almost.
Yeah, very soft and creamy.
It's flavor.
This dish is not something I expect from like usually like the Chinese restaurant here, right?
Yeah.
I wasn't expecting to have it outside of China, but this restaurant does have it.
That's
So.
nice to see it.
This is 回锅肉, double cooked pork. This is the signature of Sichuanese cuisine. If you think of one dish, it'll probably be this one. So it's, as the name suggests, it's the pork that's cooked twice, boiled, then fried. All right. No, it's good. This one is not spicy at all. This is what we call home style or 家常, home style flavor profile. It's the pork that's fried with 甜面酱, sweet noodle sauce, and fermented bean paste. So it's not spicy, but you got that still like very aromatic, fragrant flavor. And this one is Chinese leaf. Usually you don't see a lot of restaurants in US that had this dish with Chinese leaf because this ingredient is a little hard to come by. They usually substitute with onions and other things. But this is the authentic version, so you have the Chinese leaf. All right, so next up, this is called陈皮牛肉, so orange skin flavored beef. This, to your surprise, is actually an authentic Sichuanese dish. It's not spicy at all. It's gonna be a sweet one. And yet, it's pretty much that. I hate to say General Tso chicken or orange chicken, but it was like that, but better executed. You have more like intense, dry up flavor of that sweetness from orange. And the beef is nice in texture, has a slight crunch. So the history of American Chinese food is, of course, cooked by Chinese immigrant to America. For this particular dish, like the orange chicken or General Tso chicken in the US, they were brought by Taiwanese immigrants to the US. The people from Taiwan, they were immigrated from mainland China, and their ancestral lands comes from different provinces. So for this dish, it's actually the people who was Sichuanese, and they immigrated to Taiwan because of the Civil War. Then they further immigrated to the state, then they had this dish. So basically, this is the ancestral version of the General Tso chicken and the orange chicken that you have. This item is what we call 腊肉拼盘. So a platter of all kinds of cured meats, usually sausage and different cuts of pork, right? So we have two types of sausage. One is spice, another is dry rub, like a spicy version. And this, I think this is a pig ear. It looks like pig ear. There's a tender, try some. Right. This is something you can only eat during New Year. Like Chinese family will make this every year. Oh. Exactly as what I had in China. Like family version. Try some sausage. There's two versions, spice and spicy. This is more spice. Because I've been doing this thing for so long, I start to be able to discern the spices. I can taste star anise and cinnamon a little bit.
Nice aromatics.
Yes, aromatic. This is pig ear. This is also something like a very Chinese thing. So look at the tendon here. Cheers. Cheers. Just have it whole. Don't want to attempt to like break it because it has the cartilage thing. The soft, that white stuff is the soft bone. When you eat it, you just eat it whole. It's like a very crunchy texture. Yeah. Sort of like the cured meat we just have, but with a bit more intense flavor because of this part.
Yeah.
It's also a delicacy. Okay, so next dish is this one. This is Pao Jiao Niu Wa. So it's a frog in a pickled chili broth. We also eat frog, yes. And also American eat frogs too. I had it in Florida a couple of times. It's good. But the Chinese version always has less meat. So it's never been my preferred dish on the table when I was a kid because I want meat. I just want like pure meat. But this thing is like has a lot of bones and all that, right? Like actually, I think the American version is way more meaty. So like if they have American frog with more meat, I'll probably like it more. But this is like the Chinese version. There's a lot of bones, all right, but the flavor is good, very tender, and you got that very nice pickle spice flavor. So it's spicy, but not like from chili, like a dried chili or like the aromatic chili oil. It is this chili that's been soaked in this brine that's been pickled, but still they exude quite a spice here. So you have that nice flavor, tender meat, but there isn't a lot of meat, it's a lot of bones, but that's just the way it is. But it's good. So an interesting story I'm going to tell about the frog is that the reason that the Chinese is having so many frogs, or I would say in China, the supply of farm-raised frog is in abundance. And this is thanks to, in no small part, Fidel Castro. I know, right? It's kind of strange. Like, how do you make the connection from like this Chinese dish to the Cuban leader? So what happened is that when new China just established, it was a poor country at the time, and they have to find ways to like diversify their agriculture. And it turns out Cuba had very good technique for farm raising frogs. So the president back in China, I think starting from Mao Zedong, they sent entourage to Cuba to study the technique of breeding frogs. And also Castro sent some frogs and some technique as a token diplomacy. So today the reason China is able to like sustain itself, part of it through frog, is to no small part thanks to Fidel Castro. I know it's a very interesting connection that I wouldn't think of, but it's something good to know. I thought I should tell you. All right, so lastly, we have the fish. Well, the thing is that because when I'm filming, I don't want to stop other people from eating, so it's like freestyle. We're all eating, and by the time it's my turn, it's already like ravaged, destroyed. There's just like a carcass, but I'm still giving you a little bit of fish here. This is Dou Ban Yu, so fish cooked in fermented bean paste. And it's a tiny spicy, like a little spice, but it's more from like the fermented bean, funky flavor, which is also a very classic Chinese dish. This fish has quite some bones. Flavor is really good. And one thing is that for Chinese food, for Chinese New Year, you have to have a whole fish. It can't be filler or anything. It has to be a whole fish presented in its own plate. So that's one of the reasons we have that. Another reason is that there is something in Chinese called 年年有余, meaning that year after year you have fish. What does that mean? Well, it turns out that in Chinese, the word fish has the same pronunciation as the word surplus. So by saying that, we're saying that year after year, you have surplus. That means you're accumulating wealth. So you definitely need to have a whole fish platter in a Chinese New Year feast as a sign of auspiciousness. Okay, so we have finished our meal. Well, at least like I try to finish. I'm so full right now, like literally cannot take any more. There's still some food on the table. It was an absolutely fantastic meal. I had a blast. So are we, I guess. Is there anything of your favorite of this meal?
You know, this charcuterie plate, that was really good.
That's good, yeah.
Great flavor.
Very New Year too.
Yeah. And the kidneys were surprising. I didn't expect them to taste and have that texture, and it was a pleasant dish.
Yeah. Sean, do you have anything? Something you like?
The platter really reminds me of home.
All these dishes are pretty good for me. Particularly, I like the platter because it's very like New Year-ish, homely. I like the brain. Of course, it's classic. The kidney also very good. Something actually like kind of out of my expectation. A little surprising to see a kidney executing in that way, which is pretty good. The orange beef.
That was pretty good.
That was pretty good. So Chris, we finished it. Look at it's like crispy and all, so very good. Everything's very good. I wasn't particularly happy in talking to all the dishes because I want to still enjoy a little bit of meal between us. But enough to say we had a great time, and time to cheers. Happy New Year.